Hello, community, and welcome back to another Keeping It Real with Dr. Anita conversation. I'm your host, Dr. Anita Polite Wilson, and I'm trying something new this season. If you were with me over the summer, you know that I was hosting a best of series, Dr. Anita, because I'm pivoting just like the rest of you. And I've talked often in this last year, particularly the last 3 months, about rewiring the work of DEI while we retire the term. And in that instance, I want to bring a new set of conversations with you that are shorter, more concise, but also challenge you with a call to action. We're going to be focusing on leadership, inclusive influence, and culture. And in that instance, my very first guest, who I'm so excited to introduce to you, is Amber Michaela Arnold. And she was a guest speaker for me when I was hosting a webinar with the ABC Collective, and we were specifically looking at messaging. So without further ado, I bring to you Amber Michaela Arnold. Hello, Amber.
Hi there, Dr. Anita. Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you for coming back and meeting my community. Let me give you a brief introduction. Community Amber is the Senior Vice President of Corporate Reputation and Head of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Justice, and Impact Communications at Mike Worldwide. Amber, did I get all that right?
You did. Thank you so much.
Okay, very good. Now, that is an impressive title. Tell us what that means in a nutshell, and then we're going to jump right into our conversation.
Yes, I would say in my role, I have a bit of a hybrid responsibility where I support a number of clients, both in the corporate and nonprofit space, with their inclusive communication strategies. And I partner internally at my agency with our HR people and culture team to basically practice what we preach to our clients. And so definitely always have those hats on when I'm sharing information and best practices.
Now, before we go into our conversation, I want to give you an opportunity to share with us the history of Mike Worldwide and the fact that what you do is not just for the present moment, but that you've been doing this all along in helping organizations really lean into their values in a way that shapes cultures of true belonging. Tell us a little bit about your history.
Yeah, so MWW, or Mike Worldwide, as we are called, has been around for almost 40 years. And we are a full service communications and public relations shop based in the greater New York City area. And we have our fearless leader who still serves as our CEO today, Michael Kempner. He has always had a focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And once I joined the organization, 10 years ago, he was very supportive in formalizing our capabilities and offerings in that area. And so I have been doing that work with, inside of the agency for that long. And that work has expanded to our clients as well. And so we've been there, we know what we're talking about, and we've been through all the different landscapes and news cycles around this work. So we totally understand where the moment is right now.
Thank you, Amber. I appreciate that. So, community, now that we're grounded, here's the question that I have for Amber. As a messaging strategist, you've guided leaders to build stronger teams through clarity and trust. What's one shift in how leaders should frame feedback to inspire growth without causing defensiveness?
That is such a great question. And as I reflect on that, I think one shift leaders can make in their feedback messaging is moving away from a one way sharing dynamic to a more interactive, collaborative dialogue with your stakeholder or the person you're communicating with. And it's really important to have a focus on reflection and support in that messaging because it'll make the conversation more productive. So, I would give an example of saying, yeah, instead of saying, I think you missed the mark on this assignment, frame it as, let's look at this deliverable together and talk through what worked and what could be improved. And this approach will really make the interaction more productive. It also builds trust and collaboration with your stakeholders because then they would see that you genuinely care about their growth versus trying to criticize without providing solutions. And I would say I find when feedback is framed as a collaborative tool, it becomes a catalyst for growth and long term impact. And you can apply this to a number of different formats and styles. So whether that be, one way conversations or one to one conversations, excuse me, like in a performance review or for a check in with your manager, or direct report, as well as in bigger settings like an internal team meeting or even a company town hall. So it's an approach that can span different styles with its focus. So,
What I really love about this approach is it automatically invites the perspective of other people. Too often, when we have these communications, the way we frame things sometimes puts an accusatory tone to things. And a phrase that I've been teaching some of the folks that I coach with is when you say, from my perspective, because no one
Mhm.
can argue with your perspective, but it's also taking ownership for the way you see things and then invite someone else to share your perspective while you ask them to share their perspective. So I absolutely love that. So, community, I had mentioned earlier that I'm flipping the script a little bit and I'm providing real actionable takeaways for you. So, your post podcast prescription from Dr. Anita is this: stop making feedback a one way corrective tool. The next time you give feedback, open with growth focused framing. I see an opportunity for you to X, Y, and Z instead of criticism. Notice how much more engaged your team becomes when you lead with possibility. Amber, thank you so much for this tip on leadership. We're going to have you back to help us with inclusive influence. And until that time, community, remember, these podcasts are now ending with a post-podcast prescription from Dr. Anita, an action that you can take and implement right away to further what you just learned about leadership. Until next time, this is Dr. Anita reminding you to stay blessed and keep it real.
Thank you, Dr. Anita.